Zach Johnson grew up in a place where the land carried more history than any book could hold. His family's farm in west central Minnesota had been worked since the late 1800s, passed from one calloused hand to another. Each generation added something and lost something, but the dirt remained. By the time it reached Zach, it was a 1,000-acre operation heavy with both legacy and risk. He wasn't just farming crops, he was farming memory, responsibility, and debt. The ground itself told the story. Old fence posts rotting in the wind, stone piles left from decades of clearing fields, the farmhouse holding on with weather-beaten siding. Every season brought the same routine. Plant, pray for rain, fight the weeds, hope the combines stayed running long enough to bring it all in. Nothing about it was easy. Nothing about it was secure. Zach didn't step into farming as a career choice the way someone might take an office job. It was handed down to him with all the weight that came with it. The family had survived 150 years of swings in markets and weather, and now it was his turn to hold the line. His father still worked beside him, but more and more the responsibility fell on Zach. The numbers didn't lie. A bad year could wipe out six figures, and he lived through one that did. It wasn't just losing money on paper. It meant looking at bills that couldn't be paid, fixing machinery with parts that should have been replaced years ago, and lying awake wondering how to keep the farm standing another season. Becky, his wife, carried her own share of the load. She ran a daycare, keeping a steady paycheck flowing into the house while Zach rolled dice against the weather. Their marriage was built on shared weight, on both of them pulling until their backs ached just to keep the family steady. They had 3 kids of their own and later took in Becky's niece, raising 4 children under one roof in the same farmhouse Zach grew up in. Even with the daycare money, the farm didn't provide enough stability. The reality of farming made it impossible to rely on one stream of income. Diversification wasn't a strategy for growth, it was survival. That mindset carried into 2016, when Zach finally picked up a camera. Before he put anything online, he went to his father for his blessing. His dad, a lifelong advocate for farming, supported the idea right away, but made one request. He didn't want to appear on camera. Initially, Zach wasn't thinking about building a business at the time. All he wanted was to show people what farming really looked like. Not the glossy version most people think of, but the reality. The long days, the broken machines, and the constant gamble of whether the weather would let you harvest what you had planted. So he launched the channel, Millennial Farmer. He spoke straight into the camera with dirt still on his hands, sometimes sounding tired, sometimes frustrated, but always honest. And that was the hook. At first, Zach had no real expectations. He was just a farmer sharing bits of his life. But then, in 2017, everything shifted. Harvest season had the combines running long and heavy, and one of the tractors buried itself deep in the mud. Anyone who has farmed knows that sinking feeling when the machine goes down. It isn't just the cost of the repair, it's the time lost, the risk of the whole operation falling behind schedule, and the way your stomach twists because you don't have control. That moment could have easily been a meltdown, but Zach filmed it. He showed how they pulled together, how frustration turned into problem solving, how the tractor came out of the mud without screaming or throwing tools. The video went viral. People saw a farmer letting them in on the reality of work that most had never experienced. From there, the channel grew fast. Millions of people who knew nothing about farming started tuning in. Some were farmers themselves, finding comfort in seeing someone else face the same struggles. Others were city dwellers, curious about where their food came from. The common thread was trust. People believed Zach because he wasn't selling anything. He was just telling the truth. But the internet alone doesn't put food on the table. YouTube money comes and goes, rising one day and crashing the next, so relying on ads was never enough. Because of that, Zach and Becky started building the business step by step, adding pieces wherever they could. The first big step was merchandise. They rolled out shirts, hats, and hoodies with the kind of humor that only came from real farm life. Slogans like "Make fertilizer affordable again" or "Yes, he's working" weren't dreamed up in a meeting room. They came straight from daily life. Like Becky standing in the kitchen explaining to neighbors why Zach couldn't make it to a birthday party because he was still out in the field. After that came sponsors. At first, they worked with smaller companies. Then, as the channel grew, bigger names followed. WD-40, Farmers Business Network, and others. These weren't random deals thrown at the audience. They were natural fits because people knew Zach wasn't the type to fake excitement for a product he didn't believe in. And because of that, every partnership felt real. Authenticity built trust, And over time, trust became the most valuable thing they had. By 2022, Zach admitted he made more off YouTube than he did off farming. That wasn't bragging. It was just the truth of how the numbers shook out. The farm, the place that nearly broke him in the past, had become the backdrop for a media business that finally offered some stability. It didn't erase the risk of farming, but it gave the family a safety net. Becky's role grew with it. She wasn't just editing videos. She was learning night after night how to cut, polish, and package content without losing the rawness that drew people in. She managed the finances, kept the household steady, and worked alongside Zach every step. When people bought a shirt with "Farm Wife, for better or worse" printed on it, it wasn't a cute slogan. It was a lived truth. Their kids became part of it too, helping with chores, showing up in videos, carrying the legacy forward without being forced into it. The farm had survived long enough to put another generation into the dirt, and that meant something. By 2025, the Millennial farmer wasn't just a channel. It was a voice. Zach stood on stages at FarmFest, speaking to rooms full of farmers who knew his struggles firsthand. At the Topsoil Summit, he spoke about artificial intelligence reshaping agriculture. He didn't sell it as a miracle. He broke it down like a farmer would: continuous crop monitoring, real-time decision-making, and the uncertainty of new tools that could just as easily add risk as reduce it. He carried the same honesty from his videos into those rooms, and that's why people listened. Money still swung hard. In July of that year, his channel earnings shifted from $300 one day to $3,000 the next. That volatility proved why diversification mattered. The merchandise, the sponsors, the speaking gigs, even personal appearances on platforms like Cameo, all of it layered together into something steadier. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Even with the growth, farming itself remained the center. The land still demanded the same things. Weather still held the power to crush a season. Markets still twisted without warning. AI might change the tools. Sponsors might put more money in the account. But when Zach walked out to the fields, it was still the same battle his ancestors had fought. The difference was that now, millions of people could watch that battle unfold. They saw the frustration when a combine broke down in the middle of harvest, the small relief when rain hit the fields just in time, the pride when his kids ran across the same soil he did as a boy. Those small wins mattered as much as the big ones. At the heart of it all, it's still the same simple truth: the dirt, the work, the endless gamble of farming. What Zach Johnson built wasn't a shortcut out of that reality. It was a way to survive inside it, one video, one field, one season at a time.